You guys heard that wobble in the sound too, right? What? Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever applies to you. Welcome back if you are new here. My name is Julia. I'm a contemporary singing specialist based in Australia. And today I'm keen because we're diving into some new Linkin Park. This will be my first time hearing Twofaced with Linkin Park's new singer, Emily Armstrong. I have been depriving myself of new Linkin Park for so long, so I'm keen. Let's get into it. And before you ask, yes, there was a little criteria when it came to choosing a Linkin Park song for me to listen to. I wanted to hear Emily live, and I wanted it to be new music specifically from this era of Linkin Park. So that is why I went with this one. But by all means, to be tap away, let me know which ones I should also do a reaction analysis to.
Would you guys like to hear a new song? Something off the new album? Something we haven't played yet?
I think this is the time to do it.
Say I'm not, but I'm ended up on my head. That's when I figured out where it led. Beginning to realize that you put me over the edge. The truth's not rigid, your rules aren't fair. Your dark's too vivid, the light's not there. I start to give in, but I can't bear to put it all behind. I run into it blind like Two-faced, caught in the middle. Caught in the middle, too late. Counting to zero. Counting to zero. You should have recognized it's too late for choosing side. Two-faced, caught in the middle. Caught in the middle. Last time.
Oh my god, they can write a banger, can't they? I gotta admit, that first prolonged scream by Emily, I'll break it down a little bit more in a moment, but very cool. As far as like song structure goes, I was getting hit a little bit with like the nostalgia of hearing Mike rhyme the verses, then we're going into a melodic chorus and like those kinds of structural things that are, you know, they've been building off this structure for a while and yet we have the new, but my goodness, they can write a catchy song. All right, I'm gonna keep going and I'll break down a little bit more of what Emily and Mike are doing with their voices in a moment, but let's just suffice to say that at the moment it sounds like they're both staying in their first register, and Emily seems to be gunning more for an intensity in her delivery, which is matching the energy from the rest of the music behind her. So, you know, it's matching together really nicely, and I'm very excited to break this down for you in more detail in just a moment.
Last time you told me it wasn't true and pointing every finger at things that you didn't do. So that's why I kept missing the clues and never realized that the one that did it was you. The truth's not rigid, your rules aren't fair. The dark's too vivid, light's not there. I start to give in, but I can't bear to put it all behind. I run into it blind like two-faced, caught in the middle. Caught in the middle, too late. Counting to zero. Counting to zero. You should have recognized it's too late for choosing side. Two-faced, caught in the middle. Caught in the middle. Two-faced.
Tell me you haven't already memorized that chorus. Like, my goodness. My goodness. It almost feels like it's Linkin Park fan coded, you know? Just like in your blood. You hear it once in the very beginning and now there's enough to connect to. It's simple in that way, but you get the joy of being able to connect really quickly with something. And lyrically, I don't know, I always found Linkin Park to be a little bit cathartic. It gives you permission to connect to things that are relatable, but that sometimes we might not feel like we're allowed to like fully dive on into. You know, in this case, we're in a situation where you're dealing with a person that is two-faced. Like, that is so relatable, and to feel betrayed and let down and like really dive on into those feelings and those sensations. I mean, package it up, put it in a banger. Like, what else could you ask for, really? All right, so vocally, we're still in first register. So that first observation, nothing much has changed. And it makes a lot of sense musically. There's an intensity and an edge to, I guess you could say, the Linkin Park formula, where if it was missing, it would feel a little bit odd. So I am psyched that they have found a vocalist. I think it's awesome that they went with a female singer, but they found a vocalist who's able to put a little bit of that edge and that grit and that intensity into her singing. Two things that I think would be necessary for her to be able to achieve what it is that she's achieving. The first is first register, full fold closure, but not just full fold closure, a longer part of the closed phase. I mean, what the heck does that even mean? I'll break it down in a little bit more of a simple formula. So your vocal folds are closed, right? And then when you push the air up through them, the folds themselves, because they're elastic, they're able to wave in and out. So there's a period of time where they're open, and then there's a period of time where they're closed. And so all I'm saying is, as that breath is moving through and those vocal folds are doing their little wave formation, the period of time where the vocal folds are closed is most likely longer than the period of time where those vocal folds are open. The way this generates intensity is, as they're closed for a little bit longer, you build up pressure from the lungs, which underneath those vocal folds means that when they do open, they're able to move out with a lot more intensity, and they come back together with a lot more intensity. So this is where we get that fuller, intense, louder delivery voice-wise. And the second thing that she's doing, which chef's kiss with this kind of music, is the distortion. Now, how she's doing this distortion, I'm not 100% sure. There was a recent study, and I mean this year published, a recent study which kind of gave us a formula for dividing distortion into distortion where the vocal folds are moving in an even cycle, so they have a regular periodicity to them. And then there's other kinds of distortion where the vocal folds aren't moving in an even cycle, so they're called aperiodic. And in this particular study, they associated the aperiodic distortion more with, I guess you could say, noise in the signal. It's a little bit difficult for me to say exactly what she's doing, because on the one hand, we have pitch, which usually requires a little bit of consistency with the vocal folds. You want them vibrating consistently. But there's so much of an edge to the way that she is sounding when that distortion comes in. I'm not 100% sure if it's just from things within the vocal tract contributing their vibrations above the vocal folds vibrations, which gives us that distortion, or whether there's a little bit of like an aperiodic-esque nature happening that's contributing this noise, this level of harshness that we're hearing, which makes me lean a little bit more towards like a fry belt, which we've heard in other singers. I'm always a little hesitant to try and say that something is absolute in this area too, because even in that study, like 2 people demonstrated the same vocal styles, but when they were looking at where the vibrational source was for the majority of the sound, it was in slightly different places. So, people's voices are a little bit unique, a little bit special. But I guess regardless, the outcome for us orally is it sounds flippin' sick. It's like we're walking on the edge of destruction. Let me know how you vibe with it. We're gonna keep going.
You should have recognized it's too late for choosing side. Two-faced, caught in the middle, caught in the middle. Two-faced.
Sao Paulo, question for you. Do you think we can see a pit? You think you could open up the pit right here?
Can't hear myself think. Can't hear myself think. I can't hear myself think. Stop yelling at me! I can't hear myself think.
guys heard that wobble in the sound too, right? What? That was sick. Oh, now I have even more questions about her distortion though. Bother. Okay. Let's just hear that wobble first. This, it sounds like vibrato. Okay, the reason why that blows my mind a tiny bit is vibrato is something that comes about from the frequency the vocal folds are vibrating at, subtly shifting between two frequencies, right? Between two pitches. If you're looking at the wave that would come from the pitch that we hear there would be a shift between the two pitches. If you're hearing a clean vibrato, that's usually very even. In a lot of singing styles, particularly like your classical and then musical theatre, other areas too, in contemporary, we have different timings for the onset of that shift, which gives you almost this machine gun vibrato. An artist who's really big who uses this all the time is someone like Jessie J. In this instance, we have the harsh onsets of something that sounds more machine gun vibrato, but we have a clear shift between the two pitches, but there's also distortion? It's going to be on my mind for a little bit, but that's very cool and not something that I have heard before. I mean, it is short. I will give it that. It is short. The oscillation between the two pitches happens quickly and it sounds vibrato-esque. It doesn't occur for very long. It doesn't occur much past that initial onset. But yeah, my God, that's so cool. That's flippin' sick. All right, we're gonna finish this out. Stop yelling at me! Stop yelling at me! Two-faced, caught in the middle, caught in the middle, too late, counting to zero, counting to zero. You should have recognized it's too late for choosing side. Caught in the middle, 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 caught in the middle. That's a catchy little banger, isn't it? That was fun. And of course the concept's something that everyone can probably relate to. And I'm thrilled that there's a new chapter of Linkin Park that we all get to connect with. I can only imagine how nerve-wracking this kind of decision to bring in a new singer and open a new chapter must have been, but I just had a quick squiz at the comments under the video and it just warms my heart to see people are embracing the new chapter, still loving all of what Linkin Park has done and contributed and, you know, celebrating the voice of Chester and then now also turning to celebrate the new vocalist. That just absolutely warms my heart and I'm so glad that we have more that we can listen to, that we can connect with, and I definitely think Emily brings it. You know, we need that energy, we need that intensity, and she's absolutely bringing it. She's got the distortion, she's got the intensity. One of the things I'd be very curious about is to hear if she uses other kinds of distortion in other songs, and if there are songs that maybe have a little bit more melody present so I can hear what her clean approach is. I think that could be super useful for me to understand what the scope of how she likes to use her voice, what that looks like. Because in this song, we got most of our intensity fluctuations going from Mike rapping and then also creating space in the arrangement itself. So, for example, before the first chorus, we had a little bit of silence to build up and then drop us into that chorus. And then in the lead up to the second chorus, Mike was rapping and continuously building the vocal energy to drop us into that second chorus. So, you know, there were musical decisions being made that varied that intensity for us and kept the tension building in between what are essentially very intense vocals. Distortion is so expressive, like it is intense. It's going to make you feel something, and it matched perfectly with where they took it in the chorus for this song. I would just be curious to hear how Emily might vary her vocal choices. So if there's another song that you recommend that kind of fits that bill, please let me know. I'm keen to hear a little bit more. yeah, this was nuts. I'm very excited for this new chapter of Linkin Park. So I'll be checking in on their music as they continue to release new stuff. But I'm thrilled that there's some of the essence of the music continuing on that we can connect with. And I'm sure for the fans, it's feeling a little cathartic right now to be able to re-engage with new music that lets us feel things. Let us feel things. Anyways, that is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me with this reaction analysis of Twofaced with Linkin Park's new singer Emily Armstrong. I'm so thrilled that there's new music coming out, but yeah, that's it from me on this one. So other than that, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you are staying healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. This thing picks up a lot of sound. If you're wondering, yes, this is a sock. I couldn't find my pop filter. It can be a little hard to pin down. Like we'd have to look down a throat. We'd have to have a little peek.